Hi, this is Dr. Novick, Rona Novick, and welcome to the Dissertation Research and Presentation Experience, the DRAPE course, that will take you across this year through an exploration of the various types of dissertations that Azrieli now supports. You will have a series of modules by different facilitators, and I'm happy to facilitate these first two introductory modules for you these 2 weeks before the holidays. And you will then have the wonderful opportunity to learn about action research with Dr. Jeffrey Glanz. So how do we begin thinking about dissertation research? I think that you have to start by thinking about scholarship. Think for a moment about whether you've ever encountered a scholar, whether you've met someone you would consider scholarly, learned with someone who you see as a scholar in their field. What is it that categorizes or characterizes a scholar? Is it simply knowing a lot? Because if it was just a matter of knowing a lot, then there are some autistic savants, Rain Man in the movie, who you might consider a scholar. He certainly had a lot of facts that he could access. He could tell you the day of the week of any date in the calendar. He could do calculations with great facility. Is that what makes a scholar? Knowing a lot. Or is a scholar someone who understands the work in a field and then can build on it in a substantive way and contribute? When we talk about scholarship in the context of a dissertation, we really are talking about your mastery, your critical eye, your integration, and your contribution to a segment of our field. Scholarship is much easier in simpler fields. If you were interested in a very narrow area, like you wanted to study a particular type of cell in a particular Mediterranean snail, the community of scholars in that area would be very small. The research that it would be relevant for you to read and master would be quite limited and very focused. And so becoming a scholar and knowing everything there is to know about that cell in that snail in that part of the world might be fairly straightforward, or it might be complex, but it's finite. It has a limit to it. Now contrast that with becoming a scholar of any element of education. We don't have small, circumscribed little pieces. Imagine, for example, that you really want to become a scholar of curriculum design. Well, wouldn't you also need to know something about learning and cognition? Perhaps about motivation, about instructional design, about professional development of teachers? If your curriculum requires or benefits from it, something about technology and how that impacts education, oh my goodness, now you have a lot of reading and mastery to accomplish in order to become a scholar. We will work together over this year in making scholarship attainable for you. And as I know you'll hear Dr. Glanz and other faculty members echo, the journey towards a doctorate and towards a completed dissertation can be something that feels arduous at times, but it's also an incredible accomplishment and can provide you with a great deal of professional and personal satisfaction. So let me tell you how we're going to start this week and what I'm going to ask you to do. The first step is, after this video, I'm going to ask you to consider some of the questions I've raised about what makes a scholar, what your experience with a scholar have been, and what you see as scholarship, and to share them on our first discussion board. It's called the Scholarship Forum, and to share it and to share ideas with your colleagues. Second, I'm going to ask you to build on existing scholarship in a very particular way. After you complete your posts on the scholarship discussion board, feel free to watch the second video here in this module, and you will then have an article to read, a brief article on research done regarding family stress and homework, and an assignment to complete that will engage you and at least one other peer in conversation and making a joint post on our second discussion board for this week that I have called the Building on Research Forum. Next week, we will have a brief written assignment following some readings. Look forward to reading your posts and to becoming scholars and advancing our scholarship together.